You are so unorganized that you are throwing this case together as you try it. And I am sorry to say that, but this case is being made much more difficult for everybody because of the haphazard way in which it is being presented. I'm going to take a recess for a few minutes. I'll have a ruling when I get back.
Hey, what's up? It's your girl Neek, and you're tuned into Neek at Night. And tonight we're going to be talking about how the judge was livid with Attorney Love about how she has been handling this case, being very purposeful of putting up evidence that she knows she's not supposed to put up, and trying to elicit certain testimony that she is not supposed to be getting into. And with her years of experience, it's just ridiculous. So the judge basically went off on her for the 1,000th time about her conduct, and she acted like she was so mad the fact that she stormed off and said that she needed to take a moment to think about this mistrial that the defense requested. Now, we all know that the mistrial is not going to happen, because if the state messes up and the mistrial is at the behest of the state cannot retry Jeffrey Williams, Shannon Stillwell, and those two defendants, because their attorneys specifically requested a certain type of speedy trial that would put her out of the limits of such. Now, let me remind you guys what Ashley Merchant said on a previous video on how mistrials work and things of that nature. And then I'm going to show you guys where the judge basically admits that that is true and that is the case. Sure, let's get into it.
These defendants have fair and impartiality. It's impossible. It's like, to me, it's like trying to unscramble scrambled eggs. Why did she deny? I mean, you tell me, why do you think she denied the motions for mistrial? To me, it seems obvious.
Because. All right. So this is an interview by Professor Nez, and he was interviewing Ashley Merchant. Now, Jeffrey Williams is the big dog that they are trying to get to bring this whole conspiracy together. If they throw out, or if he does not be able to be tried again, their whole case is crumbling as far as this RICO. He is the RICO that they are trying to piece together. So if they don't have Jeffrey Williams and they don't have the ability to try him, there is no RICO. So listen to Ashley Merchant basically explain why she feels the mistrial motions have been denied.
This is the speedy trial demand. I'm convinced that the reason she did so
unpack that. Speedy trial
so
demand.
Jeffrey Williams, who is Brian Steele's client,
aka Young Thug.
Right. They filed a speedy trial demand. So that's why the case had to go to trial so quickly. So in the state of Georgia, you don't get a speedy trial unless you actually ask for it. So we have a statute that says you have to demand a speedy trial. If you do that demand, they have to try you within 2 terms of court. Okay. So Fulton County, the terms of court are 2 months. So they had to get the jury impaneled, picked, all of that stuff within 2 terms. That's one of the reasons they were kind of hurrying it up, the jury selection, which, I mean, it doesn't seem like it was hurried up, but they did.
Right.
And we had,
I know, it doesn't seem like it.
I know. Well, we had some tolling because of COVID. So there was some, we had some of those statutes were sort of stopped because of COVID. So they had some leniency with that. But essentially they needed to have the jury sworn by a certain date. They got that done, but they don't have any time left. So if this trial goes off the tracks and it's a mistrial, they don't have any time left to retry Jeffrey Williams. So if she had granted a mistrial and she had said it was the state's fault to grant the mistrial, he essentially would have never been able to be tried. And I think that probably weighed into her decision because he's the only one that has that speedy trial. The other folks don't. But if she had granted the mistrial, it would have been really unlikely that the case could have actually gone through in the time that it needed to go. And that, unfortunately, I think had something to do with it,
Now that we heard from Ashley Merchant, and she explains how if the fault of the mistrial is the state and something that Miss Love did, they cannot retry the case. Now, listen very carefully when the judge says, oh, I'm not going to give a mistrial, and she gives some bogus reason why she's not going to give the mistrial. In her reasoning, she talks about how the state is not trying to cause a mistrial because they know they can't retry this case. Listen up very closely, buttercups, because this is confirmation, and this tells you why each and every mistrial has gone on deaf ears, because they really want this case tried, and they can't try Jeffrey Williams, which is the main defendant that they're trying to get. Without him, he is basically the RICO. He's the head of the RICO. Without him, there is no RICO. So listen to what the judge says.
All right, I'm going to deny the motion for mistrial. It's not as if the state couldn't have gotten the testimony in an appropriate way anyway. It's not like the testimony itself is that big of a deal. But I am going to exclude that statement and just tell the jury to disregard the statement and any testimony that had anything to do with the statement. So let's get Mr. Sprinkle back. Did you want to put anything on the record, or are you just getting ready for the jury?
I'd like to put just a matter before the record for the court.
All right.
Your Honor, this is from United States versus Roberts, Roberts. It's 640F 2nd 255. It's the Ninth Circuit, 1981. It's been cited many times. It specifically says that continued prosecutorial misconduct may show a course of conduct establishing the intent to provoke a mistrial and bring into play double jeopardy considerations. You have not been here the whole time, and we thank you for being here. But starting with opening statement, and I know you got my motion.
I know, and I know.
All right, so listen closely, because this is where she says it. Listen up, buttercups.
What your argument is. Here's the thing is that, and I understand what that law says as well. Ms. Love does not appear to be trying to get a mistrial so that she can try this case over again, which I know if that were what she was doing, she wouldn't be able to try the case over again anyway. So that's just not applicable here. Now, is there continued prosecutorial misconduct merits a mistrial anyway, based on that? Yes, potentially we get to that point at some point. But there is not, from what the court's vantage point is, an indication that the state is trying to goad anybody into moving for a mistrial so that they can retry the case because they think they're losing the case. I think they think they're winning the case.
I don't know what they think, but I will say this. This is not becoming, in the state of Georgia, of a trial. And it is all the time, Your Honor. It is all the time. At some point, it's got to end. Because this is not fair to Mr. Williams, and I assume the other people on trial will agree. It is this constant hiding laws, citing law that does not stand for what it stands for, not giving over information, not answering the court, arguing with the court, and I think that it does rise to a level now, but I understand what you rule, but I think that we're well beyond it. And the reason I said the wrong thing is it's literally from the—
Oh, I saw that. I know.
All right, so y'all let me know what y'all think about it. What do you think about the judge constantly denying these mistrials that in any other case would have went through? Because clearly she knows that if the state is at fault, then she cannot get this case to go through because of that speedy trial demand. Now, watch my full video on why there can't be a mistrial, to where I give like the definition of Georgia's speedy trial demand, because every state has different little particulars within the law that changes certain things. Yes, in the Constitution, you have a right to a fair trial, but within Georgia, they have certain stipulations as it pertains to their requirements for a speedy trial and things of that nature. I went over that in my full video about the whole mistrial mishap. So definitely check it out. And y'all let me know what y'all think about it, because it's crazy to me how this is going on. I think that up against like low-level attorneys and public defenders, Miss Love looks like she is a beast in the courtroom and that she's an amazing prosecutor. And I think that's solely because these lawyers that she's up against catch everything. Now, these other low-level attorneys, they might not have the resources and the manpower to like find all these different laws, combat her about all of her prosecutorial misconduct and, you know, all of the things that she gets into evidence that's not supposed to be in evidence. Like, they might not be as skilled to catch her up on her mess, but up against seasoned attorneys that are very, very good in their field, she looks completely incompetent. She looks like she is very unskilled, and she looks like she should not be first chair in this at all, because even when she objects or tries to argue her point, she's all over the place, scatterbrained, like and she's always trying to get the judge to help her out. Now, the judge tries to pretend like she's so mad and she's so angry, but the end result of it is she lets her get away with it, and there's really no true consequences to her behavior. In addition to that, like I said, Miss Love is always looking for her help because the judge helps her out a lot. And she always is like, when she does an objection, a lot of the times you're supposed to say objection, hearsay, objection, cumulative, objection, whatever. She'll say objection and she don't even know the proper objection to say. And then she'll be like objection. And then the judge will be like, what are you objecting? Like, on what grounds? And then she'll be like, and then the judge will say, cumulative, hearsay. Like, you know, she'll give her the answer in the correct objection that she's supposed to be making, which is crazy. But it's like, you've been doing this for so long, you should definitely be way more skilled than you are. It's ridiculous at this point. It's definitely prosecutorial misconduct over and over and over again, and she should not be allowed to get away with this at all. But she is, because like they said, Young Thug is the big fish and they want to take the big fish down. Now, me, unfortunately, I'm not one of those biased people who think, oh, he's a rapper, he's innocent. I think that there are things that they have done that clearly do not look innocent, and there is evidence that they were up to no good in certain things. However, you are supposed to have a fair trial. You are supposed to be trialed, and you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And the tactics and the shady stuff that they do is ridiculous. Should not be allowed, and I just think that it's crazy. So that's my 2 cents on that.